Hello everybody, my name is Phythodas. Welcome again to another video, a new video. This time this is a new build guide for Titan Quest Anniversary Edition. And this is the new build we are going to watch for the month of March of 2017. This build is called Cold Reflections. I chose to give this name to this build for two main reasons. The first reason is that this build deals physical and mostly cold damage. I mean, I want to make this build based around the cold element for the damage output, so I try to make the most cold damage possible. And the second reason is that this build is using the reflect ability of this game, which means when the monsters hit our hero, they take back the damage they deal to the hero, or a percentage of the damage. So when they try to kill the hero, they kill themselves instead. Sometimes they kill the hero because some enemies are very strong, but anyway, this is a story for another time. So these two reasons are the main reasons why this build has the title Cold Reflections. Now let's see the build. The class of this build is the Prophet class. This is the combination of the Storm Mastery and the Dream Mastery. So, in the Storm Mastery we use the skills Summon Wisp. We use this pet, this is a pet actually, which has abilities Plasma Burn. It deals 6 to 25 lightning damage on level 1 out of 16. And I'm using the add-on of the skill, which is very important, of this pet, the Eye of the Storm. This one has 35 seconds duration on level 3 out of 8. The 14-meter radius, and it gives us plus 50% elemental damages. And since we deal cold damage with this build, we get plus 50% to our cold damage at least. Also we get 18% cold and lightning resistances, which are very good, of course. This skill is going to get maxed out, and maybe I put many points to this skill, to this pet, just to make this experiment, but we will see in the future. The other skills I'm using are the Storm Nimbus. This one gives a chance for one of the following: 15 cold damage and 7 to 38 lightning damage on level 4 out of 10. This skill gives also bonus to all pets. Again, chance for one of the following: 8 cold damage and 4 to 19 lightning damage. But the most important thing of this skill is its add-on, Heart of Frost, which gives plus 52% cold and frost burn damage, and also 38% slowed attack retaliation for 3 seconds, and the same amount slowed movement retaliation for 3 seconds to the enemies on level 8 out of 8. This add-on, Static Charge, is a lightning type of damage, and we don't care about lightning damage for this build, so I'm not using this add-on. The next skill I'm using of this Storm Mastery is the Freezing Blast. This is a utility skill. It deals very little damage. It is a defensive type of skill, and I'm using it only on such occasions where many enemies attack the hero, attack myself, and when I want to make the battle a bit easier, I'm using this skill. Some of the enemies are getting frozen, and So the things get easier and I can kill the enemies easier. The battle becomes easier because the frozen enemies are frozen. They deal nothing. They don't move at all. And but there is one drawback to this skill. The frozen enemies take 70% less damage from our attacks. So when we freeze enemies with this skill, we deal less damage to them. Yes, I know it sounds a bit weird, but this is how it works. This is why this skill is a utility skill, and I'm using it only to freeze some enemies and do the battle easier when many enemies are around the hero. The next skill of this mastery is the energy shield. This is a very nice skill because it protects against lightning and cold damage, and also it gives 25% damage absorption on level 4 out of 12. Now we use each add-on, the reflection, which gives 28% chance of 98% damage reflected on level 4 out of 8, which means when the enemies hits us, they have 1 out of 3 attacks we go back to them, and they take the damage they deal to us, they take it back. So those are the skills of the Storm Mastery. Now let's go to the Dream Mastery. In this mastery we are using one of the 3 trances, the trance of empathy. This trance has a 12-meter radius. It gives 3 to 10% of attack damage converted to health, which means when we deal damage to enemies, we take a percentage of this damage back as life steal. Actually we are stealing life, and or life leads as it is called in this game. And the most important thing for this trance of empathy skill is that we get 65% damage reflected, which means when the enemies hit us, they take back 65% damage, and actually they damage themselves and they kill themselves. They help us kill them. So this skill is on level 13 out of 12, which is the natural cap. We are on the +1 level out of the natural cap, above the natural cap. The other skills we are using is the Lucid Dream, which gives more physical, electrical burn and vitality damage, but we care mostly about the physical damage. Also the skill Premonition, which gives offensive and defensive ability. Both are always useful to any build for this game, or any other game actually. And yes, this skill will get maxed out. This skill also will get maxed out. And also we are using the Temporal Flux, which gives more total speed, a chance to avoid projectiles, which is very good especially against the Macae demons, archers, and slow resistance. These 3 skills are going to get maxed out for sure. The next skill I'm using is the Sands of Sleep. This is also a defensive type of skill, a utility skill. The only thing this skill does to the enemies is that it puts them to sleep for up to 6.4 seconds. It affects up to 3 targets. Now this skill is working almost as the Freezing Blast skill, which means when we are dealing Freezing Blast to enemies, they stop moving, they stop attacking, they stop doing anything at all. The same goes to this skill too, because when the enemies are getting to sleep, they stop moving, they stop attacking, they are doing nothing at all. But the difference is that when this skill is active, there is no drawback, which means we deal all of our damage to the enemies that are sleeping, which is not happening with the skill because the enemies that are getting frozen take 70% less damage from our attacks. So sometimes I'm using this skill, sometimes I'm using this skill, and sometimes I'm using both skills at the same time. But anyway, this skill seems more efficient. But for now, for the first difficulty, I'm using both of those skills. The next skill is the Summon Nightmare Pet. This pet has the ability Psionic Beam. It deals 8 damage, 8 vitality damage. It has a percentage of chance to dodge attacks and avoid projectiles, 34%. Maybe this skill, I'm going to develop this skill, maybe, I'm not sure yet. But if I will develop this skill, I will also develop the skill just to make this experiment and see what can we get out of this thing. But for now we have the Hypnotic Gaze add-on on level 2, which deals 10% reduced resistance for 3.5 seconds to enemies and 3.5 seconds of confusion to enemies, which is very helpful because when the enemies are getting confused, they hit the air, they lose sight of our hero, they move anywhere, they are doing stupid things. Sometimes they hit their own friends, brothers, and you see that this is a very nice skill. And also we have the Mastermind, which gives bonus to all pets of plus 10% total damage, plus 45% health and energy regeneration. So if I'm going to max out this skill and this skill, I will also max out this skill, so those two pets will do more damage. The next skill I'm using is the Psionic Touch, which is the most basic skill actually for this build. We apply this skill to our left mouse button. This skill has 3 charge levels. Currently it is on level 8 out of 12, and it deals plus 72% total damage and 49 vitality damage. Now, this bonus to total damage is the 4th hit, of course, because the 3 charge levels are exactly this. They are charging this skill for the 4th hit to unleash the bonus to damage. And also I put 1 point only on Psionic Burn because this skill deals electrical burn damage, which I don't care, plus more damage to demons, which is nice, but anyway, and 14% slower movement for 4 seconds. I'm using this one just for this effect of slower movement to the enemies that are getting hit. I'm not sure if I'm going to put more points here, but we will see how it goes in the future. I also put 1 point to the distortion field, which has only 5% chance of activating. This is very small, of course. It has 15-second duration, it deals 21 damage absorption, this is a defensive type of skill, and 11% damage absorption too, and 7 damage retaliation. It gives back a little bit of the damage. For now I have only 1 point here in this skill. I thought maybe it was time to use this skill because I have never used this skill before in this game. And I'm saying to myself, let's make this experiment and see what we can get out of this skill. And the next skill is the Distortion Wave, which deals 37 damage and 35% slowed for 4 seconds on the enemies. I'm using this skill just to slow the enemies down for 4 seconds and to deal a little bit of damage at the same time. And also I put some points here to deal even more damage, and mostly for the reduced armor attribute for 5 seconds. So when the enemies are far away, I'm using this skill. They are getting slowed, and when they are running towards our hero, they run slower. And so I hit them until they come to the hero. I deal some ranged attacks to the enemies, and when they come I deal melee attacks to the enemies. And now we will see how I do those attacks. We are going to see the items. So those are the items I'm using for this build currently. Let's start with the artifact. The artifact is a greater artifact. It is a Sphere of Eternity. Of course I created this artifact with another of my characters, of my previous characters, not with this one. So this artifact gives plus 15% physical damage, 36 life leech over 3 seconds, plus 20% sleep duration, and let's not forget that we are using the skill Surge of Sleep, which makes enemies get to sleep. So this thing maybe is useful for the skill. Also it gives stun resistance, 30%, a good amount, plus 50% damage to undead, very good, and plus to all skills in Dream Mastery. Also we get 15% chance of 24 to 36 life leech retaliation per second. This is a very good artifact for this build, especially for the normal difficulty of the game, but for the next difficulty this artifact will also be very good, so this is a very nice item for now. The weapon I'm using is a staff. This is a green staff, Orb Staff of Rime. It is not a very powerful staff. I didn't find a better staff which would give me plus 20% cold damage, plus 19% frostburn damage, 23 flat cold damage, and yes, and a green staff. So I have this currently. For the normal difficulty of the game it is very nice. Also I have enchanted this staff with the essence of the Chill of Tartarus, completed relic, which gives 33 cold damage, 15% slowed for 3 seconds, and the completed relic bonus is 5% chance of 2 seconds of stun. This is very good. For the normal difficulty this is powerful enough, and I have no complaints with this item. Now the amulet is the Blessing of the Gods. This is a legendary amulet. It requires a player level 37. So I was able to equip this amulet when I got to the last act of the game, the Hades act. This amulet gives pierce resistance, elemental resistance and poison resistance, a very good amount of each one of those three. And also it gives more strength, intelligence and dexterity points, 200 health points and 96 energy points. This is a very nice amulet for the normal difficulty of the game. My rings are the Robust Ring of Frost, a perfect ring for this build. This ring of course is level 15, it is a small ring, but for level 15 it is a powerful ring. It gives plus 8% cold damage, plus 8% frostburn damage, 6 cold damage, plus 15% strength and plus 7% health. This is a very rare ring. the most rings you are going to find of this type, robust Ring of Frost, and they will not have the plus 15% strength and plus 7% health. They will only have the bonuses to the cold damage, so this is very rare and very good for the normal difficulty level of the game. The other ring is a robust signet ring of intellect, which gives plus 14% strength, plus 24 intelligence points and plus 7% health points. This is very nice ring, and it helps very much because this build is using strength and intelligence attributes, and because it is using the Storm and Dream Mastery, and it is dealing both physical and cold damage, so both strength and intelligence points are very mandatory for this build. And I have enchanted this ring with a Spectral Matter, which is a completed monster charm, and it gives 90 energy leech over 3 seconds, 10% energy leech resistance, and the completed charm bonus gives plus 50% damage to undead. So we get 50% damage to undead from this ring and 50% damage to undead from this artifact. So we have 100% more damage to undead. Very nice, I would say. So we have to see now these 4 items. Those items all belong to the same set. It's the set Crystalline Array. This is a legendary set, a powerful set, and the good thing about this set is that it requires a player level 36, so I could equip it in the normal difficulty of the game when I got to the last act of the game. So for this set, the bonuses we get now, currently I use 4 of the 5 items of the set, and for the 4 items we get plus 25% cold and frostburn damage, 20% elemental resistance, 60% cold resistance, 35% slowed movement retaliation for 3 seconds, so the enemies are getting slowed very much with this build, which is a very powerful thing to have. We also get plus 170 health, plus 1 energy regeneration per second, and minus 20% reduction to all requirements. Very nice. And now this chest armor gives cold resistance, lightning resistance, 50% chance of 78 cold retaliation, which is very nice. We have a cold to build here. Also we get more energy regeneration and plus 3 levels to the skill Energy Shield, which we are using of course, and which skill is on the level 4 currently, because of the 3 skill points to this to the skill and 1 skill point from this artifact. No, this is for the Dream Mastery. I was wrong, sorry. So the helm, the Crystalline Helm gives 119% reduced freeze duration, which is amazing, a very powerful bonus. 48% damage reflected, which is amazing. Just remember, we are dealing reflected damage 48% from this helm, plus 65% damage reflected from this skill, which is always active. So we are on the 113% damage reflected with this item and this Trance of Empathy skill. With this helm we also get 50% chance of 72 cold retaliation, which is very nice. We also get the same almost effect from this chest armor. We get more energy regeneration and plus 3 skill levels to Heart of Frost, which we are using, of course. Where is it? There it is. Heart of Frost, which is on level 8 out of 8. And this is very nice item for this build also. The bracers we are using are the crystalline bracers. They give lightning resistance, 50% chance of 58 cold retaliation. This is a cold build. We are getting very powerful. Plus 70% to cold damage, plus 18% frostburn damage, plus 22% attack speed, and plus 3 to the skill Freezing Blast, which we are using also. This is here, the Freezing Blast. And the next item of the set is the Crystalline Greaves. We get lightning resistance, 50% chance of 78 cold retaliation again, plus 23% movement speed, which is very useful, and plus 3 to the skill Reflection, which we are using. It's the add-on of the energy shield skill, which Reflection of course gives more chances for damage to get reflected. We are dealing much damage reflected to the enemies. This is very nice. This is the build after all, called Reflections. And now let's see the secondary setup for the skills, for the weapon and shield. For the first is the staff, the cold staff, the cold damage staff, and the secondary is a melee weapon, which is the Surge of the Tempest. This is an epic item which belongs to another set, which is called Tempest, and I'm using only the weapon currently. This deals a good amount of damage, up to 144 damage, base damage. Also, we get more cold damage, more frostburn damage, and more lightning damage with this item. Also, we get more electrical burn damage, and we get 11% chance for one of the following: 1 to 4 seconds of stun, 1 to 4 seconds of freeze, 24 to 136 lightning damage, and plus 1 to all skills in the Storm Mastery. This is a very powerful item for the normal difficulty for this build. And I'm using the shield, Abyssal Shield, which is a legendary shield. It belongs to another set, the Abyssal Armor set. I'm using this shield for now. This shield is going to get replaced in the near future. This shield gives pierce resistance, 5% shield block, but I'm using it because it gives 20% chance of 43% damage reflected. Also, we get the 15% chance of up to 61 vitality retaliation, which is nice, okay. And we get the skill Flame Surge, which is this is not a bad skill. In the normal difficulty it works nicely. This is a fire type skill, but anyway, I'm using this shield just for the damage reflected power it gives. So those are the items for this build currently. Those two items are going to get replaced, of course, in the future. My jewels are going to get replaced, and this stuff, of course, is going to get replaced with something more powerful. And we will see if I can find maybe better items to replace. Maybe something here, I don't know. This set is very nice for this build, and I don't know if I'm going to replace any of those items, but we will see. Now my resistances with all those items are very good for the normal difficulty, of course, because in the next difficulty those resistances are going to get nerfed. My intelligence attribute points are a bit lower than my strength points, but I'm going to make it even. I will put more intelligence points here in the future. I will try to make both strength and intelligence attribute points to be at least on 500. And those are my secondary resistances, nothing fancy. And I had total deaths of 5 in the first difficulty of the game. Of course, those deaths came before I had equipped those items. With those items equipped, you cannot die very easily on the normal difficulty of the game. It is very hard to die on the normal difficulty, of course. But anyway, this is it for the normal difficulty. So guys, this is the guide. This is the Cold Reflections build, and in the near future, after 10 days, we are going to get the second video for this build, which will be the first update video for the build Cold Reflections, and we will see how this build performed in the second, the epic difficulty of this game. So thanks for watching this build guide for the month of March of 2017. If you like this video, hit the like button, write a comment if you have anything to say. If you have any questions, write a comment, feel free to ask anything about the build, the game, anything at all. Share this video if you like this build, this video, and I will see you in the next video very soon. So that's it for now. Have fun, stay healthy, play Titan Quest, and goodbye.